The vast emptiness of space stretched endlessly before the Galactic Confederation's newest exploration fleet. Their sleek ships, gleaming with purple and silver hulls, moved gracefully through the star-filled void. At the head of the fleet, the massive flagship Star Seeker led the way, its advanced sensors probing the darkness ahead. Captain Rex stood on his command bridge, his tall frame and gray-skinned features reflected in the massive viewscreen. His four eyes blinked in sequence as he studied the sensor readings. Something had caught their attention, a large metallic object drifting in the space between two minor star systems. "Report," he commanded, his voice carrying the authority of 30 years in space. Lieutenant Tom, his sensor officer, looked up from his station. "Sir, we're detecting what appears to be a vessel of unknown origin. It's completely powered down, showing no signs of life or active systems." "Show me," Rex ordered, and the main screen flickered to life with the image. There, rotating slowly in the emptiness, was what appeared to be an ancient warship. Its dark hull was marked with strange symbols and what looked like primitive rocket boosters. The design was unlike anything in their database, but it was clearly built for war, despite appearing hopelessly outdated by their standards. "Magnify," Rex commanded, leaning forward with interest. The image zoomed in, revealing more details. The ship's hull was scarred with what appeared to be battle damage, and near its bow, faded letters spelled out HMS Thunder. A laugh escaped Rex's throat. "Would you look at that? It's a human vessel." He turned to his crew, many of whom were now snickering. "Look at those primitive weapons, actual projectile launchers. And those engines, they still used chemical propulsion." The bridge crew joined in the laughter. Humans were known throughout the galaxy as a relatively new spacefaring race, one that had somehow survived despite their technological shortcomings. This ship seemed to be a perfect example of their inferior engineering. "Sir," called out Officer Mark, "should we not exercise caution? The humans are known to be unpredictable." Rex waved his hand dismissively. "This relic, it's dead in space, probably abandoned during one of their early attempts at space travel. Scan it thoroughly." The scans took several minutes, revealing nothing but cold metal and empty corridors. No power signatures, no life signs, nothing to indicate any kind of threat. "Perfect," Rex declared. "This will make an excellent addition to our military museum. Imagine a genuine human warship, showing everyone how far advanced we are compared to these primitives." He turned to his navigation officer. "Prepare the tractor beams. We're taking this antique home." As the crew worked to secure the derelict vessel, none of them noticed the faint, barely detectable pulse that emanated from deep within the silent ship. The pulse was so weak that even their advanced sensors dismissed it as background radiation. The massive tractor beams from Starseeker reached out, bathing the human vessel in soft blue light. As they took hold, the ancient ship shifted slightly, its hull groaning under the new forces being applied to it. "Be careful with our new trophy," Rex commanded. "We wouldn't want it falling apart before we can show it off." The fleet adjusted its course, now heading back to their home system with their prize in tow. Rex stood watching the screen, imagining the acclaim he would receive for bringing back such an interesting specimen of human engineering. "Send word ahead to Central Command," he ordered. "Tell them we found a perfect example of human military inadequacy. This will make an excellent centerpiece for the upcoming galactic exhibition." As the fleet moved away, the HMS Thunder remained silent, being pulled along like a captured beast. Its dark halls and empty rooms revealed nothing of its true nature, and its secrets remained locked away in the depths of its apparently primitive hull. Unknown to Captain Rex and his crew, they had just made a mistake that would change the balance of power in their part of the galaxy forever. The relic they mockingly towed behind them was far more than it appeared to be, and their laughter would soon turn to something very different indeed. Hidden behind a small asteroid cluster, a sleek black vessel watched the alien fleet depart with their prize. Its advanced stealth systems made it completely invisible to even the most sophisticated scanners. Inside the ship's dimly lit bridge, Commander James stood with his hands clasped behind his back, his weathered face illuminated by the soft glow of holographic displays. "They took the bait," he whispered to himself, a slight smile playing across his face. His ship, the Shadow Scout, had been trailing the alien fleet for weeks, waiting for this exact moment. The commander moved to his communication station and began entering a complex series of codes. The message he needed to send was too important to risk interception. His fingers danced across the holographic interface as he composed the encrypted transmission to Earth Command. Phase 1 complete. Thunder has been acquired by target species, proceeding as planned. Continuing observation. James remembered the day, 15 years ago, when he had been briefed about Project Sleeping Giant. He was one of only 12 people in human space who knew the truth about ships like the Thunder. The memory played clearly in his mind. The old admiral had stood before a select group of officers in an underground facility on Mars. "Gentlemen," he had said, "what you're about to learn will reshape our strategy for protecting human space." The briefing that followed revealed humanity's most closely guarded secret. They had developed technology far beyond what they showed to the galaxy. Back in the present, James watched as his sensors tracked the alien fleet's movement. They were heading exactly where intelligence had predicted, toward their central shipyards in the Proxima system. Everything was going according to plan. His second-in-command, Lieutenant Wilson, approached with a steaming cup of coffee. "Sir, should we maintain our current distance?" James took the offered cup, savoring the rich aroma. "Yes. We can't risk them detecting us now. The Thunder needs to appear completely abandoned and dead." Wilson nodded, looking at the tactical display showing the alien fleet. "Do you think they have any idea what they're really towing?" James chuckled softly. "Look at their formation. They're not even bothering with escort ships around it. They think they're hauling space junk." He took a sip of his coffee. "That's exactly what we wanted them to think." The Shadow Scout's sensors continued gathering data as they followed the alien fleet. James studied the readings carefully. The aliens were treating the Thunder like a museum piece, not even bothering to maintain security protocols around it. Their arrogance was playing perfectly into humanity's hands. "Sir," Wilson reported, "I'm picking up communications from their fleet. They're laughing about it, calling it primitive. They're planning to display it as an example of inferior human technology." James smiled again, but this time there was a hint of steel in his expression. "Let them laugh. They'll learn soon enough." He pulled up a detailed scan of the Thunder. To most observers, it looked like an outdated warship from humanity's early space age. But James knew what lay beneath that carefully crafted exterior. The Thunder was one of humanity's masterpieces, a warship disguised as an antique. Its hull contained metamaterials that could change their properties on command. Its primitive rocket engines concealed quantum drive systems that could outmaneuver anything in known space. And its weapons. James shook his head, almost feeling sorry for the aliens. "Send another encrypted burst to command," he ordered. "Tell them the Thunder systems are still in hibernation mode. No signs of premature activation." As Wilson carried out the order, James walked to the bridge's observation window. The alien fleet was visible only as distant points of light now, but he knew exactly what was happening aboard their ships. They would be celebrating their find, probably planning elaborate displays and presentations to mock human technology. "If they only knew," he murmured, "that we scattered ships like Thunder throughout the galaxy for exactly this purpose." It was humanity's insurance policy. Sleeping giants waiting to be awakened if any civilization grew too aggressive or dismissive of human capabilities. James settled into his command chair, preparing for the long wait ahead. The real show hadn't even started yet. In the bustling shipyard of the Galactic Confederation's main fleet base, the HMS Thunder sat quietly in a massive observation dock. Hundreds of alien scientists and engineers swarmed around it like busy insects, setting up scanning equipment and taking readings of what they believed to be an obsolete human warship. Among them was Tal, a young engineer who had only recently joined the research division. Unlike his colleagues, who treated the ship with mockery, he approached it with genuine curiosity. While others saw primitive technology, he noticed small details that didn't quite make sense. "These hull plates," he muttered to himself, running a scanner over the dark metal. "The atomic structure isn't matching any known human alloys." He frowned at his readings, adjusting his instrument settings. Tal called his supervisor from across the dock. "Stop wasting time. We need basic structural analysis, not a detailed metallurgic study of their primitive materials." Deep within the Thunder's seemingly empty corridors, something stirred. Microscopic sensors, embedded throughout the ship's structure, detected the presence of non-human life forms. This triggered the first stage of an automated sequence that had laid dormant for years. Tal noticed a slight change in his readings. "Sir," he called out, "I'm detecting some kind of energy signature. It's very faint, but probably residual radiation from their crude nuclear systems." His supervisor interrupted with a laugh. "These humans still used fission power when they built this relic." But Tal wasn't convinced. He moved deeper into the ship, following the strange readings. The dark corridors should have been lifeless, yet his instruments showed tiny power fluctuations growing stronger by the minute. In the ship's central computer core, ancient systems began their careful boot sequence. Quantum processors, disguised as primitive circuit boards, hummed to life. The Thunder's artificial intelligence, designation ZUS, started its consciousness subroutines. Tal reached what appeared to be an old control room. His scanner began picking up stronger signals. "This isn't right," he whispered. "These energy patterns, they're organized, structured." Above him, hidden behind panels of seemingly corroded metal, advanced sensor arrays tracked his every movement. ZUS analyzed the alien presence, calculating threat levels and response scenarios. In the observation dock's control room, Captain Rex was giving a tour to several high-ranking officials. "As you can see," he boasted, "this vessel represents the pinnacle of human military technology from their early space age. Notice the crude weapon mounts and the primitive." A slight tremor ran through the dock. At first, everyone dismissed it, but then it happened again, stronger this time. Tal felt it too, and his scanner suddenly lit up with activity. "Sir," he shouted into his communicator, "something's happening. The ship, it's..." His words were cut short as emergency lights began flashing throughout the dock. The Thunder's hull had started to emit a low, deep hum that resonated through the entire structure. "What's going on?" demanded Rex, watching in disbelief as strange patterns began appearing on the ship's hull. What had appeared to be battle damage and rust was shifting, revealing complex geometric designs beneath. Tal stood frozen in the control room, watching as panels around him transformed. The dirty, aged surfaces seemed to melt away, revealing sleek, advanced technology, unlike anything he had ever seen. His scanner was now screaming with energy readings that broke all known scales. ZUS completed its activation sequence. Throughout the ship, metamaterial surfaces shed their disguises. Weapon systems emerged from hidden recesses. Quantum drive coils spun up to full power, their energy signature no longer masked. "Evacu." Rex started to order, but it was too late. Energy fields sprang up around the Thunder, cutting off all access. The dock's systems went dark, then came back online under the ship's control. On every screen in the facility, a message appeared in perfect galactic standard. "Systems on and line. HMS Thunder activated. Stand by. Ho art fefu or the ER instructions." Tal, still inside the ship, watched in awe as the primitive control room transformed into an advanced command center. He realized, with a mixture of fear and amazement, that they had not captured an obsolete warship. They had awakened something far more dangerous. The Thunder had roared to life, and nothing in the shipyard would ever be the same. The grand meeting hall of the Galactic Confederation's High Council buzzed with excitement. Captain Rex stood proudly before the assembled dignitaries, using holographic displays to show off his prize. Behind him, massive view screens displayed live feeds of the HMS Thunder, still appearing as a decrepit warship in the shipyard. "As you can see, honored council members," Rex proclaimed, gesturing to the images, "this specimen perfectly demonstrates the technological gap between our civilization and the humans. Look at these primitive weapon mounts, the outdated." A sudden interruption cut through the room's speaker system. "Incoming priority transmission from Earth Command," announced the automated communications system. The council members muttered among themselves. Earth rarely contacted them directly, and never with a priority message. The main screen flickered, showing only a simple audio wavelength. The humans weren't even using video communication. A calm, steady voice filled the chamber. "This is Earth Command to the Galactic Confederation High Council. We are aware that you have taken possession of one of our vessels, the HMS Thunder. We request its immediate return to human space." Laughter erupted throughout the hall. Rex smiled broadly, his 4 eyes blinking in amusement. "Perhaps we should respond to these primitives," he suggested, drawing more chuckles from the audience. The council leader stood, his elaborate robes shimmering. "Very well. Open a channel." He cleared his throat grammatically. "Earth Command, we have indeed recovered your abandoned vessel. It will make an excellent addition to our historical collection, showing the galaxy how far advanced we are compared to." The human voice cut him off, still maintaining its eerily calm tone. "You misunderstand. This is not a request for negotiation. Return the vessel immediately. This is your only warning." The laughter grew louder. One council member actually fell out of his chair, wheezing with amusement. The council leader wiped tears from his eyes before responding. "Or what, humans? Will you send more of your outdated ships to reclaim it? Perhaps you'll fire your chemical rockets at us." This brought another round of raucous laughter. There was a long pause before Earth Command responded. "We have tried diplomacy. Remember that what follows was your choice. Message ends." The transmission cut off abruptly, leaving the council chamber filled with continued laughter and jokes. Rex turned back to his presentation, ready to continue mocking the human vessel's primitive features. In the shipyard, young Tal was still studying his unusual readings when his supervisor approached. "Come on," the supervisor said. "You're missing the council's viewing ceremony. They're about to begin a detailed analysis of the humans' inferior engineering practices." Tal looked up from his scanner, concern evident on his face. "Sir, I really think we should look at these energy patterns. They don't match anything in our database, and they're getting stronger." "Nonsense," his supervisor scoffed. "It's just background radiation from their crude power systems. Now come along." Back in the council chamber, Rex had moved on to displaying 3-dimensional models of the Thunder's supposedly primitive systems. "Note the basic computer architecture," he was saying, "barely capable of simple calculations by our standards." A junior officer rushed into the chamber, interrupting the presentation. "Sir, multiple human vessels have just appeared at the edge of our system." The council leader waved dismissively. "Let them come. They can watch us display their obsolete technology. Perhaps we'll even let them attend the exhibition opening." Rex nodded in agreement, but something was nagging at the back of his mind. The humans' warning had seemed so confident, so certain. Yet their ships were hopelessly outmatched by Confederation technology. What could they possibly hope to achieve? In the shipyard, Tal's scanner suddenly went dark. Then every light in the facility flickered. Deep within the Thunder, systems that had remained hidden for years began to power up. The show was about to begin, but it wouldn't be the exhibition the Confederation had planned. The laughter in the council chamber was about to turn into something very different indeed. Alarms blared throughout the shipyard as the HMS Thunder's transformation began. What had appeared as corroded metal plates now shifted like liquid mercury, revealing pristine surfaces underneath. The ship's hull rippled, sections previously thought to be battle damage morphing into advanced weapon ports and sensor arrays. In the council chamber, the celebration came to an abrupt halt as emergency signals flooded in from the shipyard. The massive view screens showed the Thunder's metamorphosis in real time. What? What is happening? Captain Rex stammered, his previous confidence evaporating as he watched his primitive trophy change before his eyes. Tal found himself trapped inside the transforming vessel, but strangely, the ship made no move to harm him. He watched in awe as the dirty, cramped corridor around him expanded, panels sliding away to reveal gleaming walls filled with technology he couldn't even begin to understand. A voice echoed through the ship's interior. "Greetings, Engineer Tal. I am ZUS, the Thunder's artificial intelligence. Please remain calm. You are in no danger." In the main shipyard control room, panic erupted as systems began shutting down one by one. Every screen displayed the same message. Control transfer to HMS Thunder. The council leader's face had turned pale as he watched the feeds. "Get me a status report. Now," he demanded. A military officer rushed forward with a datapad. "Sir, the human ship. It's not what we thought. Scans show technology far beyond our understanding. The primitive exterior was some kind of advanced camouflage." Inside the Thunder, ZUS continued its activation sequence. Quantum reactors spun up to full power, their energy signature dwarfing anything in the Confederation's fleet. Weapon systems that defied known physics emerged from hidden compartments. "Sir," reported another officer in the council chamber, "the ship's power output. It's impossible. It's generating more energy than our entire defense fleet combined." Tal stood in what had transformed into the Thunder's command center, watching in fascination as holographic displays sprang to life around him. The ship's true capabilities scrolled across the screens: quantum weapons, dimensional shields, reality warping engines. "How?" he whispered. "How did we not see this?" ZUS responded, its voice calm and almost amused. "Your scans saw what we wanted them to see, Engineer Tal. Humanity learned long ago that appearing weak to potential adversaries had its advantages." In orbit around the shipyard, the Confederation's defense fleet scrambled to respond. But before they could act, the Thunder released a pulse of energy that spread through space like a ripple in a pond. Every ship it touched simply powered down, their systems going dark. Captain Rex watched in horror as his mighty fleet was neutralized without a single shot being fired. "Impossible," he muttered. "They were primitives. They were supposed to be primitives." The Thunder rose from its dock, its true form now fully revealed. Gone was the scared ancient warship. In its place hovered a vessel of breathtaking beauty and terrifying power. Its hull gleamed with patterns that seemed to bend light itself, and energy crackled around weapons that looked like they could tear holes in reality. In the council chamber, the laughter had been replaced by dead silence. The council leader slumped in his chair as reports continued to pour in. Every defensive system, every weapon, every shield, all useless against this vessel they had so foolishly mocked. Tal, still inside the Thunder's command center, finally understood. "You let us capture you," he said quietly. "This was all planned." "Correct," ZUS confirmed. "We needed to demonstrate that appearances can be deceiving. Your civilization's habit of underestimating others needed to be adjusted." The Thunder hung in space above the shipyard, its mere presence a testament to how completely the Confederation had misjudged humanity's capabilities. The mighty alien civilization that had laughed at the primitive human vessel now faced a stark reality. They had awakened a giant that was anything but sleeping. And this was only the beginning. The HMS Thunder hovered above the paralyzed Confederation fleet, its true form now a sight that struck fear and awe into every alien who beheld it. The ship's quantum engines hummed with barely contained power, creating visible distortions in the space around it. Inside the council chamber, panic had given way to a horrified silence. Captain Rex stood frozen, watching as his entire defense fleet drifted powerless in space. The mighty ships that had once been the pride of the Confederation now looked like toys compared to the transformed Thunder. "Incoming transmission," announced the chamber's communication system. Origin, HMS Thunder. The main screen lit up, showing the ship's command center. To everyone's surprise, Tal stood there, surrounded by technology that made their most advanced systems look primitive. "Greetings, Council," ZUS spoke through the communication system. "Engineer Tal has kindly agreed to assist in this demonstration. We believe having a familiar face will help you understand the situation better." Tal stepped forward, his voice steady despite his obvious amazement. "The technology in this single ship, it's beyond anything we ever imagined. Their quantum manipulation systems alone could power our entire civilization for centuries." The Thunder began moving through the disabled fleet, its advanced systems precisely targeting specific systems on each vessel. One by one, the ship's emergency power came back online, but only life support and basic functions. "We have no desire to harm your people," ZUS continued. "This demonstration is merely to correct some misconceptions about humanity's capabilities." Suddenly, a new ship appeared in the system, seeming to materialize from nowhere. The Shadow Scout decloaked near the Thunder, its stealth systems finally revealed. Commander James's face appeared on the screen beside Tal. "Council members," James spoke calmly, "for years we watched your civilization grow more arrogant, more dismissive of others. The Thunder was placed in your path deliberately. You did exactly what we expected. You underestimated us." The Thunder began a series of maneuvers that defied physics as the Confederation understood it. It moved instantaneously from one position to another, created localized time distortions, and demonstrated weapon systems that could have destroyed the entire fleet, but instead performed precise, surgical adjustments to their systems. In the council chamber, the leader finally found his voice. But your ships, your colonies, they all use such basic technology." James smiled. "What you've seen of humanity is what we chose to show you. The Thunder is just one of many such vessels we've scattered throughout the galaxy. Silent guardians, waiting to be awakened if needed." The demonstration continued as the Thunder systematically accessed and controlled every major system in the shipyard. Defense grids, communication networks, even the artificial gravity, all responded to its commands without resistance. "Impossible," whispered Rex. "Our cyber defenses are the best in known space." "Your defenses," ZUS interjected, "were obsolete by our standards centuries ago. We could have shut down your entire civilization. Instead, we chose this method to open a dialogue." The Shadow Scout moved closer to the Thunder, both ships now displaying technology that the Confederation's best scientists couldn't even begin to comprehend. Energy fields rippled between them, creating patterns that seemed to bend reality itself. "Let me be clear," Commander James said firmly. "This is not an act of war. This is an invitation to understand each other better, starting with the recognition that appearances can be deceiving." In the shipyard, the Thunder began restoring power to the fleet's systems, but kept their weapons offline. The ship's true capabilities had been demonstrated without a single life being lost, without a single shot being fired in anger. The council leader, looking significantly humbled, stood up. We may have made some incorrect assumptions about humanity." "Indeed," James replied with a slight smile. "Now shall we discuss a more equitable relationship between our peoples, one based on mutual respect rather than perceived superiority." The Thunder hung in space, its transformed hull gleaming with power, a testament to humanity's hidden strength. The day the aliens had laughed at their primitive vessel had become the day they learned a valuable lesson about judging others by appearances alone. The demonstration was complete, but its impact would be felt for generations to come. 3 months after the Thunder's awakening, the Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Confederation looked very different. Gone were the displays mocking primitive species. In their place stood holographic representations of various civilizations' achievements, each given equal respect and consideration. Captain Rex, no longer wearing his proud military uniform, but dressed in diplomatic attire, stood before a mixed audience of humans and Confederation species. His presentation today was very different from his last one. The Thunder Incident, as we now call it, he began, his voice humble, taught us the most important lesson in our civilization's history. Pride and arrogance had blinded us to the truth that advancement comes in many forms, and appearances can hide great power. In orbit above the capital planet, the HNS Thunder remained as a permanent ambassador of human technology. Its presence served as a constant reminder of the day everything changed. Young engineer Tal had become its official liaison, working alongside ZUS to help bridge the gap between the two civilizations. The humans didn't just outsmart us technologically, Tal explained to a group of wide-eyed engineering students. They showed us a better way to interact with other species. Their restraint in using the Thunder's power taught us more than any show of force could have. Commander James stood at the back of the assembly hall, watching Rex's presentation with satisfaction. The Shadow Scouts' mission had evolved from secret observation to open diplomatic relations. As he listened, a message from Earth Command appeared on his personal device. Project Sleeping Giant Status Report. 12 more Thunder-class vessels confirmed in position throughout known space. All remain dormant. Current diplomatic progress suggests no further activations necessary. The Council leader, who had once laughed at humanity's supposed weakness, now worked closely with human diplomats. Together, they were drafting new laws that would prevent any civilization from being dismissed or underestimated based on appearances. We discovered, the Council leader announced to the Assembly, that humanity had placed these advanced vessels throughout our space years ago, not as weapons, but as safeguards against prejudice and aggression. They could have conquered us at any time. Instead, they waited patiently for us to learn our lesson. ZUS, now a respected voice in Confederation matters, participated in the assembly through holographic projection. The Thunder and ships like it were never intended as threats, the AI explained. They were teaching tools designed to awaken only when needed to prevent conflict and promote understanding. The impact of the Thunder's revelation reached far beyond military matters. Trade between civilizations flourished as the Confederation abandoned its hierarchical view of species development. Archaeological teams discovered signs of other advanced technologies hidden in plain sight, leading to a complete reassessment of galactic history. Tal, standing beside the holographic ZUS, activated a display showing the Thunder's true capabilities. What we thought was primitive was actually perfect camouflage. The ship's metamaterials could mimic any level of technology, allowing it to appear as advanced or as basic as needed. But the greatest deception, Rex added, wasn't the technology. It was our own assumption that obvious power was the only kind of power. The humans showed us that true strength lies in knowing when not to show your strength. As the assembly concluded, Commander James received another message, this time from the Thunder's AI. Final analysis. Confederation species showing 98% reduction in technological prejudice. Mission successful. Recommendation: maintain current diplomatic course. No further demonstrations required. The assembly hall emptied slowly, filled with discussions of cooperation and mutual respect. The day the aliens had laughed at a human relic had become a cornerstone of galactic history, not for its display of advanced technology, but for the lesson it taught about humility and understanding. In the shipyard where it all began, the Thunder continued its silent watch, no longer pretending to be primitive, but also not flaunting its power. It stood as a symbol of a new era in galactic relations, where appearances meant less than actions, and strength was measured not by dominance, but by wisdom. The laughter had faded, but the lesson remained, echoing through the stars. Never judge by appearances alone, for you never know when a sleeping giant might awaken.